Today is December the 10th. I'm interviewing Ronnie Horvat. I'm here's Jelena Sujanovic, and we're at the Concordia Club in Kitchener, Waterloo. Thank you for coming.
You're welcome.
I wanted to ask you a couple of questions about your childhood. Can you tell me a little bit about your childhood?
Certainly. So what's your question?
I'm sorry. Where did you grow up?
Okay, I was born in East Germany in the Russian zone in Dresden, Saxonia. Mm-hmm. I'm born 1973, and yeah, I grew up there until I was 14, 15. 1989 we fled East Germany and then we moved to Munich, and this is where I grew up then the rest of the time.
Where did your parents grow up?
Also in Dresden, in Saxonia.
What did they do for a living?
Oh, my mother has a master degree for engine building as Maschinenbaumeister, and my father is a master of tool and die making. Master's degree of tool and die making, and had his own company in East Germany.
Did you go to school in Germany?
I went to school from grade 1 to grade 9 in East Germany, and from grade 9 to 10 in Western Germany.
Do you remember any experiences from there that stick out?
Yeah, communism. So what's so special about that time is, as students you had to, once a week was like an appel. Mm-hmm. So you had to meet in front of the school and stand there like in a little square, and every class had to participate with some how to say, either you sing a song or you referred to a rhyme or something like that. So, and in front of the entire school also students were punished if they were naughty. So in front of the entire school the principal would say, and that student did this and this and he's grounded from that and that. Or also the good things, so if something was extraordinary and representing the school very well, let's say at a sport event or so, this was also done right there in front of the entire school, and the principal or the teacher would announce it.
That's very interesting.
Yeah, it was almost like in the Third Reich, just instead of brown it was red. So you pretty much can say that.
So you can. And in West Germany it was different when you went to school?
Oh yes, very, very different. All of a sudden you were allowed to say what you think. More or less, let's say like that. Mm-hmm. Although as a kid when you grow up, knowing that you had to shut your mouth and certain things you were not allowed to say, mm-hmm. I was a little bit a shy kid, let's say like that. In grade 9 when we arrived in Munich, I was in Ebersberg by Munich. Yeah. So it's called Realschule. Yeah. It's a 10-class school, so it's a middle school. And I voluntarily went back into the 9th grade, although I passed in East Germany just to make my entrance in the school system. Mm-hmm. Western Germany a little bit better. I have to say, students in East Germany were very much more pushed into learning, so I had it pretty easy, the 9th grade, to go through. The only hard thing for me was English. I failed horribly in English. But for that I had to learn Russian in East Germany, so this 5 years I had Russians. The other ones were 5 years ahead of me in Western Germany with their English studies.
It looks like you caught up.
Yeah, you pretty much can say that. I lived since 10 years in Canada, so I hope I'm relatively fluent in English.
Yeah, so can you tell me a little bit about your migration path and how you came here and how that all came to be?
Okay, there we have to maybe go back to our arrival in Munich.
Yeah.
When we fled East Germany, we were placed in refugee camp, and my mom found there instantly work. So we stood there in Ebersberg. I had a very, very good English teacher, which took their private time after school and tried to hammer me some English words and sayings into my head, which were very, very hard.
Do you still remember some of them by any chance?
Yeah, like one thing she used to say is fly by the seats of your pants. That was something I never understood until I arrived in Canada. You know, so that was very interesting. Her promise was, I will never make it in English. After 2 years she said, you know, you're hopeless, English will never come over your tongue. Although I have to say I'm actually very good with languages. Like I say, my father is Hungarian, so I grew up German speaking, and once or twice a year I learned Hungarian when we ever went to visit family. I learned Russian, so I were already trilingual, if you look like that. And then in Munich it was a surprise for me to have such a hard time with English, let's say like this. Then I grew up, I wanted to take over my dad's company. That was actually the reason why we fled East Germany, because I was not allowed to learn the same trade like my dad. We called that dynasty creating. So they refused my apprenticeship, although everything was signed. I had my spot, I had a master who was willing to train me. So that was the foundation of our decision to say, let's leave here, something is not right in this country. In Western Germany, all of a sudden freedom of decision, freedom of speech. So I decided still to go ahead with that and learn the same trade or similar. So I became a plumber. So I went to apprenticeship school, or my apprenticeship time there. And I did actually, I finished my school with as the best or as the second best of our guild in Munich. So I actually got a degree from the mayor, so there was a public exposure again. And the mayor back then, he called the first 5 of the guild up to the stage, and we all got with a handshake our degree handed, and that was very exciting. So my dad was proud, you can imagine. Yeah. So, but during the change years of East and West Germany, the company were lost in East Germany because we fled the country, so I had to go my own way somehow. So years later I decided to add another education. So I went back to business school in Munich. Das nennt sich, it's called in German, Berufsschule für Verlags- und großen Außenhandelskaufleute, also für Kaufleute.
Yeah.
So I became a großen Außenhandelskaufmann. Also I have a bachelor in wholesale and foreign relations, however you say that in English. That was my second education, and with that I started through, and I stood with my original job, so I became a wholesaler for plumbing goods. Well, I worked as a clerk for a wholesale company who dealt with plumbing goods. It's called Richter and Frenzel. It was also east of Munich, Aschheim-Dornach, very big company, very nice company. It was a nice time. It was very nice. Oh yeah, back to your question, how I came to Canada. Yeah, in Germany recession broke out. In the meantime, after my education I had left, I founded my own restaurant in Landau an der Isar, also in Lower Bavaria. And business became harder and harder and harder. But our restaurant ran very well, so we expanded, and that broke our neck. So looks like I were not that good with numbers. Let's say like that. I were actually good, but unfortunate events happened in that moment. So a lot of, or let's say the main loan giver back then, the Comtesse de Arco, died, and her sons would not acknowledge the contracts. So we had to close, more or less. To get back up the wall, I went back into my job as a plumber and heating technician, and the recession started. So we had pretty hard time. I got laid off in December, actually pretty much 10 years ago, if you look like that, December 2004. And I looked for a job. And I couldn't find anything, neither as a clerk nor as a heating technician, nothing. Then I found an advertising in the newspaper, in the Süddeutschen Zeitung. Someone were looking for a heating technician to Canada. I answered that, and that was the only guy actually who answered me back regarding my application. Actually within, I think, 2 days he called back and he said, I want to see you in Canada. Okay, big step. I actually never expected any answer like the other 30, 40 applications I handed in before that. So, like I say, I was unemployed. Friends of mine, they paid the flight to come here. My future employer, he took care of bed and breakfast, and he paid a rental car for this 2 weeks I came here. So I had a look at the job, at the company. I worked with them for a couple of days, and on the end of that time my employer said, would you like to stay here or also become employed by us, or do you not like it? And I have to say it was February when I was here. February 2005. We had one of the hardest winters ever, if people might remember, in front of Port Dover on the lighthouse. There were ice rocks out there. They were higher than the lighthouse itself, and people were standing up there, and I visited that within these 2 weeks. That was very amazing. We had wind chill minus 35. That was crazy cold. So, but for me, coming from Munich and not having really winter seasons, maybe just for 2-3 weeks a year, 3 inches of snow, so I was happy to have a real winter. I liked how people are here, very laid back. One of the words my boss said to me, you have to see in Germany, they say, do what you do it right, but do it yesterday. And he said, you see, here in Canada we work differently. We say, do what you do it right, but take your time. Do it right. So, and I liked that. So after that 2 weeks I said, yes, I would like to come here as a heating technician, let's say like that. That was my field. And I went back to Germany. My employer took care of all the paperwork and everything necessary to come here with a work permit. And I would say it took 2 months. Yeah, 18th of April, I finally emigrated to Canada with a work permit in my hands.
Nice.
So that was very exciting. I got rid in that meantime of all my belongings, possessions, what I had in Germany. So, and handed it back to my friends, or just how you do it, right?
Yeah.
Put a big overseas box together with all the things which I really did not wanted to let go, and shipped the overseas box. Took 2 months to arrive here. And yeah, since 18th of April 2005, I'm living in Canada.
In Canada. That's great. So you didn't have any family here or anything when you
Nothing.
came? Did anybody come afterwards? Do you have family now here?
No, as I'm not living in Canada. Sure, my family visits me once a year. I come for 3-4 weeks, and we always have a lot of fun, and we discover Canada together more or less. But no, I don't have family, or I didn't have family back then here.
When you, how does like Waterloo or Kitchener-Waterloo compare to where you grew up in Germany?
Oh, I would say very flat.
Very flat.
Also, I'm coming, like I said, I'm born in Dresden.
Yeah.
In Dresden we have the Saxonian Alps. It's a hilly area with sandstone rock formations. So I grew up actually hill climbing. Not indoor hill climbing like here in Waterloo, sondern really on a rock, hanging out there with my grandfather. Compared to Bavaria, where I lived later on, we had the Alps right on the doorstep of Munich. So you drove 50-60 kilometers, you were in the middle of the mountains. So the Waterloo region is very level compared with that. As I have to say, this was the hardest time for me. The first 2 years, I missed my mountains, that's for sure.
Yeah. Can you describe your feeling once you arrived here in Canada, how you were feeling?
On the one side it was very frightening, because I lost all my friends, or not losing, but I couldn't take them along, right? So I were alone. Like my English teacher promised, my English was not very good. I could say yes and hi and count till 10, maybe a little bit more, but that was it. So let's say the first year I needed a lot of translating from my colleagues. My luck were that the employer who was seeking a heating technician was with German background as well. So he emigrated as well as a young man, so he spoke German very well even today, and his son as well. And my second employer, he spoke German as well, German and English, so it was a very good mixture. We helped a lot with special terms regarding the trade. and they really helped a lot. And I have to say, the Concordia Club back then, I joined it when I came here in April, was like a catching basin for me. So all of a sudden here were people who spoke German, where you could learn out of their experience, what they did, what they experienced, what was good, what was bad, what to watch out, what not to do. So it was very, very interesting. And back then I were like a sponge, right? Everything which was new, I sucked up and tried to convert it. Yeah. But still, friends were missing.
Yeah.
So nobody called you at night and said, "Hey, come on, let's go for beer, or let's go play some volleyball, or go play soccer, or do something," like back home. So that was really missing. All of a sudden I were a loner, as a lone wolf, yeah. So Concordia Club really caught on. So I joined here with a sport group. I played here, or I still play here, Eisstock, which is a German sport, or Bavarian curling you can call it, which is very, very interesting. And since then, I have to say, Concordia became part of my family.
That's very nice. Do you have do you have any family, like how would you say, do you have a wife, or did you meet anybody here, a significant other, or?
Yes, let's say, when was it, 2009, I met someone. Yeah, in the meantime we are engaged.
Oh, congratulations.
Thank you. We have a house together. Also, one of the good things of Canada, as a normal employee, that never would have happened in Germany. So you never would have get the down payment together. But I have to say, also because of my German stubbornness, I put every penny aside the first couple of years, which I earned. I traveled a lot, I have to say, but it was a healthy balance. And I worked also a lot of overtime. Also, I worked the first 3 years here almost 6-7 days a week. You know, during the week as a heating technician, and on Saturday, Sunday I helped my boss to fulfill the work which were not done during the week, like boiler services and stuff like that. So that was a welcome income, let's say like that. Yeah, took me 3-4 years to put my down payment aside, and then we bought a house in Cambridge.
Nice. Is your wife also from German descent, or?
No, my wife is a Canadian, but with South African descendant.
Oh, that's nice.
So we are one family, you can say. The whole world meets in Canada.
Yeah. It's Canada is a little multicultural,
yes.
I would say. Are there any personal stories that you could really think of that you would like to share with us?
There are so many personal stories we can actually not even fill that memory of your camera.
Well, we could start with a few.
Okay, what would you like to hear?
Well,
stories of Germany, stories of Canada.
Anything that would be interesting to the young readers for the book that we're doing. So what do you think would be interesting to them? It's up to you. Just you could just choose one.
Interesting stories. Okay, a lot of things I do backwards. For example, I owned a horse in Germany. So in Germany I did Western riding with my own horse, and barrel racing. And here, coming to Canada then later on, I did the high school of dressage, or how you say, Dressurreiten, and jumping. I did that at Safari Road at the Hanoverian Equestrian Center, which was a very exciting time. And Hanoverians are a little bit bigger than my German quarter horse, let's say like that. It was very, how to say, that was just amazing if you tell that people you do Western riding in Germany, which has nothing to do with Western culture at all, and then you do the high school of dressage here in Canada, which actually should be the homeland of Western riding. So that's maybe an interesting story. What else is interesting? I don't know. The moment it took me 4 years to become a permanent resident here, so I prolonged my work permit one time, and then during the mid of that period I applied for permanent resident. So the moment I became permanent resident, the first day after I enlisted for a gun license, hunting and gun license. So, and that's actually my biggest hobby. I'm an outdoors person, so I like to go hunting and fishing and enjoy, and just walk through the forest. That's amazing. That's absolutely amazing. And I have to say my employer was very, very helpful with that. As a company, we did once a year a trip up north, going fishing, like Horwood Lake by Timmins, or like Lady Evelyn Lake towards Cobalt. I also went to Lake Kippawa in Quebec as a company. Also that was very, very exciting, and it's just so much different fishing than in Germany. So that's very interesting, or was very interesting. This actually opened my heart for Ontario more. So I not just learned to know our area, KW area, I also learned to know actually Ontario from Kincardine, you can say, to Cornwall, from Port Dover to Timmins. So that was a very, very nice time, and still today, even though I'm not anymore with my former boss, I still take that opportunity every time my family comes and take them out to somewhere, to hunting cabin or fishing cabin, and just enjoy the wilderness. You don't have that quietness in Germany. It's a big difference. You have to see Germany as a little bit less than half the size of Ontario, Germany. So you have to see southern Ontario, I would say up to Sudbury, North Bay. That part roughly is the size of Germany. And there are 80 million people squeezed into that. So land is not really too vast, although we have nice forests, we have mountains. But if you walk 2 hours, you will meet someone. Here, if you go up in the bush up north, you walk 2 weeks, you might not meet anybody. So, and that's something what's fascinating. It's very fascinating.
And you said fishing was different. Do you have specific examples?
Yeah, as a young kid, I went with my dad to Hungary. And in Hungary, it's almost like in Canada. You don't really need, like in Germany, a fishing license to go to school for. You go somewhere, you pay for your fishing license, you have to follow certain rules, and then you go fishing. So we were standing, as a young boy, we were standing at the White Donau, or at the Raba in Dürr, and fishing. My dad on the right side, and I would say a gypsy boy, my age maybe, on the left side. They both were fishing, and they pulled one fish after another out, and I was standing there for hours. And nothing came, just nothing. So I never actually gave fishing another thought after that, until my boss pushed me here and said, hey, we have a fishing trip coming up, go and buy yourself a fishing rod and some equipment. I protested a lot. I said, no, fish is swimming in the water, they don't like me, and I know nothing about it. And he said, come on, don't be such a wuss, let's go. And look at that, we went Horwood Lake, and really I caught my first fish in Horwood Lake, a nice big pike, 40 inches. And from that moment on, it was just
like love at first sight.
Yeah, you can say it pretty much. I also go once a year Kincardine and Goderich for salmon fishing, if the salmon comes in, or Sable Falls, which is very interesting to catch your own salmon. In Germany you only know that from the cooling shelf in the supermarket, right? And here you can catch your own salmon, nice and healthy. So that's very, very amazing. Otherwise, down here in southern Ontario, I'm not going too much fishing, sometimes in the river, for some catfish or for some trout, but that's it then.
Yeah. So let's speak a little bit about the language and your language history. So we were speaking a little bit of how you learned. Was the first time you learned English when you came to Munich?
Yes.
And which language did you grow up with? Which one did you learn first when you were at home?
Our mother tongue at home was German.
Was German.
12 months a year German. Like I say, only with 2 weeks we went to Hungary, or 3 weeks during the summertime or Christmas break. I had the opportunity to speak some Hungarian, or to learn some Hungarian with my cousins, but that was it then. So my Hungarian is not too good, although you pretty much can say, I grew up more or less bilingual, but German was our mother tongue.
And you said then the other languages, so Hungarian you speak a little bit, it was English then that you learned at school, and when you came here, how was your experience and then learning more English when you think back at
it was a rough time, but I had to. It's like you throw someone who does not know how to swim, you throw him in a deep end and say, now swim.
Yeah.
So he had to learn. There's no but, ifs and whys. You had to learn swim or you drown, and the same was it with English. My luck was I rented an apartment with a German-speaking lady. She would help me a lot, also with official paperwork, you know, for TV or for phones or internet and all of it. And I watched a lot of TV. I have to say, cartoons helped me with to learn English. Especially in that sense, I have to say Simpsons and South Park. I never understood in Germany, it didn't make any sense because they translated it in German. So a lot of jokes did not make sense in German. But because of the cult status it had in Germany, so I watched that too. And here all of a sudden I could see that in English. And that helped me to understand finally and get better in. The same with some movies you've seen in German and all of a sudden you see them in English. So it made it better day by day. And one thing which helped a lot, I acquired the Kitchener Record almost daily. So I was reading a lot of newspapers, but I didn't understand. I asked my landlady or my employer back then. So newspaper and TV, I have to say, helped a lot. And colleagues, because on the job site, almost except our crew, nobody else spoke German, so everything had to work in English. And yeah, that was, you had to.
You had to. So you never took any like formal schooling, so it was mostly just informal through.
Speaking, yes.
Like, do you today, do you use more English or German?
I actually use only English.
Only English?
Because my wife is, like I said, from South Africa, so she doesn't speak German. She speaks a little bit, how you call that, Afrikaans. Her family doesn't speak Afrikaans, they only speak English, so I have no other choice, it's only English. I have German once a week when I call my parents on a Sunday home, my mom and my dad, or my friends on the weekend. That's all I speak German. Or if I come to the Concordia Club, then on a Thursday night when we sit here and enjoy our company, then there's a lot of German jokes and laughter and fun.
Yeah. Is there any situation you can think of though where it's maybe easier for you to speak the one language over the other?
I have to say in the meantime I would say everything works English better than German. Sometimes after 10 years I even realize with my parents that I'm searching in the meantime for German words. Unfortunately. Because you're so into it. One example would be I went with my dad out east to explore a little bit Quebec, and he is driving and I tell him the gas is empty, also das Benzin ist alle, we have to go to the next Tankstelle. But I couldn't remember the word Tankstelle in German, so I said gas station. And my dad did not know what I'm talking to him. Gas station in German, gas is gas. It's something what hooks up your oven. It has nothing to do with gasoline. So you would say then gasoline, right? So there was a big discussion going on. Why am I talking English with him? And so
tell us a little more about that. That sounds interesting. So when they come visit here, how is it? Have you seen those some language barriers when they come?
My wife always makes fun of me because my dad speaks Hungarian with me. I answer him in German and translate it for my wife in English. So here's our trilingual again. With my mom it's easier. My mom is very well with languages as well. In the meantime she speaks English, especially because of my better half. So we can communicate very well in English together. But if we talk in between each other, it's mostly German. Also if I'm alone on the road with my mother, then it's German. But like I say, it's only 3-4 weeks a year, so that's it.
Do you go back to Germany?
I have to say the first 3 years I went back almost every Christmas. But it's very expensive. Let's say like this, Christmas time is travel time for teachers. And this rises the costs of flights and whatever very, very tremendously. So I always try to fly directly on Christmas Eve, which makes it a little bit cheaper, and come back on New Year's Eve, which makes it also a little bit cheaper, but gives me just a week. So that was first year, and the second year I stood there for 3-4 weeks. Since then I said to my friends, you know what, you want to meet me? For you it's the same distance coming here like me going there. I grew up here with you. You should use that opportunity to come and visit Canada and see how Canada is. Only I have to say, for Christmas we don't like the cold. Not too much, not like me, let's say like that. So we refused till now. Years later, some of my German friends visit me during summertime, and I went fishing with them.
Yeah.
But that's it actually.
Is there
Otherwise, I'm not traveling too much to Germany due to my sport, my ice stock sport. In the meantime, I'm part of a national team for Canada. So I participated at one World Championship as a player. And the last World Championship was actually this year, 2014, in February in Innsbruck in Austria.
Great.
And there I went as the president of the Canadian Ice Stock Federation, as an official, let's say.
Wow, that's great. Is there anything that you actually miss from Germany?
The only thing I miss is my Autobahn. That's the only thing. I had I had a wolf in a sheepskin as a car, so I had an Audi. An Audi 100. It was the model which James Bond drove in his movie, and they built 4,000 of those for private use, and I owned one of them, and it was actually a sports quattro that was the grandfather of the so-called S line, what you can buy today. So that was the first S model ever out on the road, and I called it a Porsche Hunter. So because if you went on the highway and the Porsche was flicking his lights at you, you just moved over, let him pass, and by 220, 230 you could sit on his neck and flash his lights, flash your lights, and make the Porsche move out of your way, because you went 270, 280, and then just they all looked at you with big eyes. How could a big car like this? And you were just driving comfortably. So that was not like a sports car, it was really like a grandparent's car, but the speed tremendously, and that was for me actually, that's the only thing I'm missing. Comparing the Autobahn with our highways here, I have to say the 401 is much better built than the Autobahn. The lanes are double the size of the Autobahn, and we are still allowed to drive just 100. That was a big thing for me. The first couple years, to drive that slow, you had to think it over, let's say like that, just to fit into the Canadian traffic. That's really the only thing I miss. There's one example, we were in Munich already, multicultural. So our friends, or my friends, they came from all over Europe when we studied at the business school. Some of them came from Spain, some of them from France, and sure, we visit each other through European Union. You don't have border control anymore, nothing. So we started one day driving to France. I have friends who are coming from Magnac-Laval. It's in the department Limousin. It's right the center of France. And our ride from Munich to Freiburg to the French border is 470 kilometers. I did that in 2 hours 15 minutes. So sure, my gas tank was empty back then. I had to fill up, but that was overnight. We started exactly, this is why I remember it so exactly, we started directly midnight, and 2:15 in the morning we had to fill up on the French border. This is how I know, I remember that like today. The Autobahn was free, and back then there were not too many speed limits. Today I have to say 70% of the German Autobahn system is ruled with variable speed limits. Also, let's say through peak hours we rule it down. Through the night we open it up. Through the cities, if you ever pass a city you have to slow down for noise reasons. So today it would be not possible anymore. But back then, that was a nice ride. That was really nice. From Munich to Freiburg, that's anyways, you hit Augsburg, you hit Stuttgart, you come down to, that's amazing. That was a nice ride.
That sounds very interesting. So you keep talking about the hockey?
Ice stock.
Ice stock. Sorry. Ice stock. Can you talk a little bit about that and the association and how you got involved with it?
Oh, okay. my former employer, he took me along to Concordia Club. He played, he still plays Eisstock, and he said, "Hey, come on, you're from Bavaria, you need to know that sport." And I said, "Yeah, I know that sport, but I never played."
Yeah.
So he said, "Don't you worry, here's a spare stock for you." I said, "Eisstock, I have maybe to start. Let's start another way."
Okay.
Eisstock is a kind like curling.
Okay.
The rules are a mixture between bowling and lawn bowling, also petanque, or boule, how you call it in English, and curling. So 4 play against 4. And an Eisstock looks like, not like a curling stone, it's more like a flat pancake with a straight handle, with a stick coming out.
Okay.
And you cannot play it just on ice, you also can play it during the summer on asphalt or granite or marble or concrete, on your wood patio, on tiles, wherever you have a smooth surface. So, and my former employer took me along and he said, "Come on, you're from Bavaria, you must know that." And he gave me 1 stock and he said, try. And for some reason I caught on with it, and he said, "Man, you're all natural, we need you, you have to stick here." And yeah, and because the lack of friends I had here, sure, I joined the Eisstock club, the Concordia Eisstock group, and started playing on a regular basis, once a week, sometimes twice a week, sometimes I came on the weekend if I had nothing to do. And after 6 years I became part of a national team. I was good enough, let's say like that, to join in. And 2012, I have to say, 2 years ago, I went as a national player to Waldkraiburg in Bavaria to represent Canada there. And yeah, that was very, very, very exciting. It's really exciting. 2012, I have to say, we had to pay for our own accommodations, our own flight. The sport was not, or is not, recognized by the government of Canada. And young like I am, and German and stubborn like I am, I said, we have to change that. You know, we have to go ahead and like every other sport, you know, like basketball or curling or other sports, we deserve actually to be supported. So the federation said, yeah, if you have that big mouth, then show us how to do it. And by the next election, the president of the federation stepped down to make place for me, and he said, I'm gonna support you with all the power I have. And since when I'm going, and since when Eisstock is actually growing throughout Canada, you have to say that.
That is great. Great achievement. So let's talk a little more about what all these clubs meant to you and what role they played in your, because you already touched up on them quite a bit, like what roles different organizations played in your life now here once you moved to Canada, like the Concordia Club.
Well, it helped me a lot to integrate. It helped me a lot for to watch out what to do and what not to do, like I said already. Like I say, for insurance reasons. I came here, I thought, yeah, like every European, you dream of big, soft American cars, like Cadillac, Lincoln, you know, what you see in the movies, and then you come here and you see, as a new landed immigrant, your insurance is astronomical, like a 16-year-old college student. And yeah, a car which is 10 grand might be insurance-wise 12 grand a year. So yeah, people here told me, hey, don't be stupid, don't throw money away. You have to keep your ball flat or keep your ball low for the first couple of years, for example. And then I got over another German fellow living in Milton. I got his son's old Hyundai Sonata. I bought it off of him for $2,000. My insurance for the first year, just liability, was $2,500. So it was just liability, it was not even full coverage. Full coverage would have bought me already another Hyundai Sonata at that age. I was 20 years old back then. But without that, I might have invested more than necessary just to get the foot on the ground here, because transportation is necessary. You have to say, in our area, the bus system or the public transportation is not that tightly knitted like it was in Europe or in Munich. It's really an issue to go from A to B. As if I would have come by bus every day here to Concordia Club, although I lived in Dun South, it would have taken me almost 40 minutes. With your own car, it takes you 10 to 12, 15 minutes. So it was necessary to do such things. Then another fellow took me along and helped me to find the right insurance, for example. Yeah, Just one example, and he said, come on, compare this, look here, look there, and even though it's expensive, but look around. After a year or two, he took me again along and said, come on, you have a letter of your German insurance with your accident 3 years, maybe we're gonna find something where you can go. Yes, so we could go somewhere, and I could finally find a proper, normal, affordable insurance for full coverage. And then another German family helped a lot, which were the Hefners. Back then, as a new immigrant, just with a work permit, you could not lease a car. All of a sudden, after 1.5 years, my car broke down, was not worth to fix it anymore. And I said, you know what, guys, I knew already I want to stay here, so where do I get a proper ride? So through my former employer and his affiliation with the Hefner family, or with a dealership, I met John Hefner Jr., which where we built as a heating technician, back then also the Hefner dealership. So he gave me a private, how to say, leasing contract, because no lease company would take me as a work permit holder, right? So he gave me a private leasing over himself. All of a sudden I had my own first brand new Toyota Corolla, you have to say that. So yeah, that was very exciting, and all of a sudden my full coverage insurance was, I think, 1,200 bucks a year. You know, and the car was worth, I think, 17, 18, with tax 21, I think. I'm not sure, but it's a long time ago. So yeah, this all helped together, and this all would have not come if I would have not been here in the Concordia Club, or if I would have had not found my German employer, or would have not played Eisstock with certain people. So that all, it's like a family. Not really, but it's like a family. It helps you to catch you and help you to avoid mistakes and get contacts, and just walk through life and open your eyes a little bit and see what's actually so nice. A lot of people here really love to, how to say, to live here in Canada. It's very, very laid back. Compare with Germany, I have to say. Okay, a lot of Canadians might say, oh no, it's hectic here and hectic there, but compare it with Europe, man, it's paradise. Not really, but you know what I mean, what I want to say.
Yeah. Do you go to the Oktoberfest and to the Christmas market and stuff that they organize?
Yes, in the meantime I'm I'm a director of the Concordia Club. So I got 2 years ago elected as one of the youngest directors ever in here. So yes, I'm Oktoberfest in the meantime with all my other fellow directors. And this year I was also on the committee for the Christkindl market. Yes, we have our Glühwein booth out there, so, and selling Glühwein and enjoying actually that. Yes, I enjoy that very, very much. That's a piece of, how to say, Heimat, a piece of your motherland, and you can actually show a little bit of your German tradition without influencing the Canadian way of living. So that's just to participate and to show how it is, and to give a little bit of Gemütlichkeit, let's say, like that. That's really nice. I like that.
That's great. Do you consider yourself Canadian or German, or both, or?
It depends on the situation. In the meantime, I consider myself more Canadian than German. Maybe has to do with certain thinking parts. Germans are always stubborn, straight ahead, my way or no way, or my way or highway, let's say like that. Here, your eyes got opened a little bit to look over the edge of your plate, to also recognize opinions outside your own, get more, how you say, it's more able to get a compromise in Canada, I have to say, and to see how it's all working together with different approaches for the same solution. And that's very exciting, and under that aspect I would say I'm Canadian. Sometimes, like I said, on the highway, if I drive 100 there and I see some drivers here, I have to say I'm still German. I'm sorry to say that. If I see someone driving and the first snowstorm is on and he is swiveling over all 3 lanes because he has to brake every 2 seconds, and because it's icy out there, then I'm just shaking my head and I'm wondering, guys, why don't you have a driving school here? Why is driving school not mandatory? If you learn riding from your dad and he was not very well riding, how do you expect to ride yourself on the road very well? So that's the German in me. On the other side, I like the freedom to say, you know what, you are able to learn from your parents. Then there comes the Canadian again through, and where I say, you know what, I actually like that. I just wish that it would be more properly put down. So I think in that way, for example, driving school, we should follow more stricter rules because it's dangerous for other people on the road. So in this way, I consider myself a German.
Do you still have like German foods or anything like that? Did you still eat or like Plätzchen or stuff like that?
I go sometimes to Italo food, and they have from Yugoslavia this Erdnussflips, you know, these little smokies. You might know them. So that's something that's very close to home. This is what I love because I grew up in East Germany, and Erdnussflips you could buy only once a year, and they were rationed for every family. You were allowed only to buy 5 bags, and that's something. Even living then in Western Germany, that was for me. I could go and buy so many as I wanted, and now living here, that's something what still gives me the taste of home. Yes, Erdnussflips is one example. Once in a while, when I have visitors from Germany, I go and to the German butchery and buy German sausage and German meat, smoked meat like bacon or also Speck, or like the Hungarian Knacker, the sausage, also not the Landjäger, the real ones, or cold cuts. It's somehow, the European taste is somehow different, but I have to say I do this only once in a while, once I have the urge for it. The same is with German bread. There are some German bakeries spread around town, and I have a certain one where I like to go once I have the urge for that, for my sourdough. You know, not this chewing gum white bread, toast bread here, sondern the real sourdough, San Francisco style, they call it here, with a crush corner. When you cut it, it needs to crackle and crumble, and that's something also just once I have the urge. Once in a while you treat yourself to that.
Do you think you will, are there still other traditions that you followed, like German traditions, for example, like Christmas? When do you celebrate Christmas? Do you, like in your family now, how do you do it?
Not really, to say so. My wife put through that the Christmas tree is going up weeks before Christmas. For us in Germany, the Christmas tree went up on the 24th of December on Christmas Eve. So here we are a little bit earlier, so where I don't follow German tradition. On the other side, like I say, I think like a Canadian, so my front yard is, I have some deers out there illuminated, and the front tree is done, which we never did in Germany. Also back then, I mean in the meantime, or I think in the meantime it even gets over the ocean, and even Germans prepare their front yard too, but when I came here it was not the way. So otherwise I go with the kids tobogganing. That's something which we did in Germany. I don't know if that's a German tradition. I think Canadians are very well a winter sport nation. It's also a Canadian way, so this is where our inheritance intermingles. Otherwise, no, not really. I don't do too many German traditional stuff. Let's say, not that I know. If you would give me an example, maybe.
When do you Also zum Beispiel Bescherung. An welchem Tag machen Sie die Bescherung? Am 24. oder am 25.?
This always depends which religion you belong to. So my background is Lutheran, so our Bescherung is am Heiligen Abend. It means the gifts come on the 24th of December, right after church. At least this is how it was in my childhood. Due to that I came as an adult here, I open my gifts whenever they arrive, let's say like that, sometimes even days before Christmas. So, because I say my parents don't see it anyways, which day I open it, so long it arrived.
And you were saying you go with kids somewhere. Is it your own kids or?
It's my fiancée brought them along.
So what language do you teach them English, or what language
They
do you
only speak English.
Only
yes.
English?
If I start in German, they know they are in trouble. But we do a lot. Also this is something maybe I inherited from my dad, but I think it's also a Canadian way. If you have the chance, and my garage is set up like a little workshop, if you have the chance to give something ahead to kids, then you do that, right? So we build a lot together. Also we craft, for example, like last winter we built a bird feeding station, also bird houses, or during the summer we built like a Sparschwein, like a saving, like a pig. We blew up a balloon, and then with how you call this, wallpaper glue. Yeah. So and a newspaper, we glued it around the balloon, and we took the balloon out and we painted it, and it became like a saving box. Yeah, like stuff like this. Also we do a lot, which is handy. A lot of my friends don't do that with their kids, but for that they go hunting or fishing with their kids. So like I say, we do a lot of other things. I just don't feel too comfortable with some, through the forest and watch them every 5 meters. So, we do a lot of things at home.
Have you noticed any change in the communities over the last years that you have been here? Within this particular Waterloo Kitchener area within the last years?
In the German community,
Yes.
I realized that less and less Germans are coming. There's not really, how to say, people my age coming. Or if so, they don't find the way here, let's say like that. We had 2 years ago someone joining from Upper Bavaria, also my age. This year someone is joining from Munich, but that's 1 and 2 within 2 years. In the past, I think the migration of German people were a little bit higher. But I think maybe they are spread out more throughout the country, or they live such a good life in Germany that they don't want to leave. I have no idea. I met some German descendants during Christkindl market now, just recently, last week. They are from Brampton and from Burlington and from Milton. We didn't even know that the Concordia Club exists in Kitchener. So I hope I'm gonna meet them again, and we're gonna have some fun here. The one couple in Burlington is also here just since 2 or 3 years. So a little bit older people than me, maybe 5-6 years older. But we're gonna see what comes out of it. I hope to see them again. We spread the word, let's say like this. So this is one thing I realized. Also the age of our German-speaking population is increasing rapidly due to less and less new migrants from Germany, younger migrants.
Is there any other clubs that you are part of here in Canada?
No, actually, I belong to the Ontario Federation for Anglers and Hunters. I belong to the National Firearms Association. I'm just a member there. Concordia Club and Canadian Ice Stock Federation. That's what I do. I think that's good enough.
Oh yeah, that's great.
That's plenty.
Yeah, it is. I just had to ask. And is there anything that you would like to say? Do you have any message that you would like to give to the younger generation?
The message would be to go out there. If you have German background, then try to learn the language. Every language you own, or every language you can speak, opens your horizon. So it makes you that much more open-minded to go through this world. That's very important. Especially here in Canada, you have the chance. You grow up bilingual. Learn French, learn English. With that alone, it's already a milestone. Not many countries can offer that. If you learn an additional language like German or any other one, whatever you feel like, that is something, knowledge, what once you gained it, nobody can take it from you. Knowledge is free and is free accessible, and you should gain so much as possible of that. That's my opinion. As you should never stop learning. That's important, also in my eyes.
Yeah, that's great advice. Just one more last question. Do you still read any books or watch any German films or TV, listen to music, anything like that?
Unfortunately, through my years here, I'm 10 years here, I do not know what goes on in the German music scene. Sometimes I listen to German music. If I have urge for it in my workshop, in my garage, once I'm alone, the grandkids are not around, then yes, then I do that. Otherwise, books I read in German, but movies are all in English. I have to say that, except if my mom brings a CD along or so. But then it would be not fair for my wife, she will not understand that. And certain books actually I also translate while I'm reading it to her. So once we are in bed at night, and she wants to know what I'm reading, then I read it one page in German to her, hoping she might catch up on the German language, and then I take that page and translate it in English. So, for example, there is a book, it's called Das Ahornblatt. It's about a German immigrant growing up in eastern part of Germany after or during World War I, and immigrating then to British Columbia during the 20s. And that's what I translated. Or another book, it's called The Wanderhure. I translated that for her in English, but I have to say that's so tiring, especially at night. But the entire chapter is almost impossible. That book takes a couple months to read. So yes and no. I read German and I watch English.
Do you follow any news channels in Germany?
No.
None?
No, I'm watching the news over internet, and like I say, knowledge is free, and I think a lot of the news which you get presented on TV are, how you say, cut down to only the part you're supposed to know, without any questions asked. So no, I do a lot of research over internet and create my own opinion. I like to have my own knowledge, let's say like that, and like to know what's really going on, why we have an uprising in the Middle East, why is it spreading from one country to the other, because these are all countries I traveled when I was young, and they lived actually happy in there. What made them change? The same way I traveled Yugoslavia, what made that change? Yeah, why all of a sudden the neighbor stands up and fights against his own neighbor? For me, not understandable. And the public knowledge spread through news channels on TV is not enough for me. I'm sorry to say so. That's something. Yeah, with me growing up in East Germany, I take public propaganda very, very carefully and try to create really my own opinion.
That's great. So, do you have anything else that you would like to add? Anything? Any other stories? Anything that you feel like you didn't say?
Yeah, I love Canada. I love to be here. That country is so amazing. I traveled the entire East.
Yeah.
So I went from Kitchener, starting to, like I say, Lake Kipawa, Kingston, Cornwall, Quebec City, Ottawa, in between Montreal, then Rivière-du-Loup, I think on the St. Lawrence Stream, and then down towards Moncton, and then New Brunswick, Cap Pelé, also New Brunswick towards Prince Edward Island at the Confederation Break. The warmest beach north of South Carolina, so really guys, you should go there. Prince Edward Island is very nice with its red soil. Then down to Nova Scotia, Cabot Trail. Man, Canada is amazing, it's amazing. Coming back Truro with the Hopewell Rocks, Lunenburg, a German town as well, the same like Kitchener, or mostly German, where they built the Blue Nose, built by Germans, or German descendants, let's say like that, German sailors. Yeah, Canada is a land of opportunities, that's unbelievable. Like I say, if you guys gather your knowledge and learn from your mistakes and get up, everything is possible in this country. Everything is possible. There's, like I say, it's the possibilities are vast.
Great.
What else I would like to say? I enjoy it here. I own a house which I never would be able to do if I would have lived in Germany. The decision to buy the house was because there was a pool attached. A big dream for Germans even to own a house on top, a house with pool. Wow, that's very nice. I have a dog. I'm an outdoors man, so I have a hunting dog, a big one, let's say like that. So I'm still going horseback riding. I don't do dressage anymore because I like freedom, and the same freedom I like to give my surroundings. So I don't like to push my horse too much. It needs to become a community, a unity with the animal which you're guiding, or the animal guides you, however you see that. And I go fishing. So Canada is just amazing. I love it. Also that's really nice. I love the water. I go sailing on Lake Erie. Guys, do something with your life. You have all the opportunity you can do.
That's great. Can we contact you again in case we're missing some particular information?
Certainly.
And would you like to receive parts of the book in which you are mentioned before the book goes to print?
Sure.
And if so, can we send it per email?
Yes. You have my email?
Yes, I believe we do have your email, yes. So we would send it then. Well, thank you very much for this interview.
You're very welcome. Hey, and keep on learning Deutsch, yeah?